question is today is again, why Jesus stories? What does that mean today to us? What does that have to do with me? I think that's a good question. This is a story we find in the Bible, but what does that story have to do with our stories? And we talked about stories last time that we met. The importance of the stories. Everyone has a story. I have a story of my life. You have a story of your life. You have stories of your parents' stories. Sometimes they are interesting, sometimes they are not. So you know them well. You probably have someone in your family that has a really great story. Story of a hero. Stories of failures also. Life is full of, it's not only about success, but life is also about failures that we have. But failures stand there because we want to learn from our failures, right? I have a lot of failures in my life, but if I don't learn from those failures that I have, I cannot be successful in the future. That's for sure. So we have stories of, everybody has different stories. We have stories that we can tell. There are stories that we cannot tell other people. Secrets. We want to keep them in ourselves. Things that we're ashamed. Things that we're proud of. There are a lot of stories. But what does the story, Jesus' story, why Jesus' stories why are they important to us today? Because every story, every history, everything that happens in the past can happen today. History is like going in circles. Things that happened 10,000 years ago can happen today. Things that happened not that long ago, 50 years ago, can happen today. So I think it's relevant to us because through the Jesus story, we can find ourselves. We can find who we are. So we want to hear that. We want to hear what Jesus is saying. We want to hear Jesus' story and find out who we are, what values we have. Today's story is about the values. Are you a valuable person? My question is today, there's a commercial on TV. It's a MasterCard commercial. There are things in this life that are price. There is a price for everything. Let's say you want to buy a car, a new car. Let's say expensive one. Let's say a Tesla. I don't know. I don't drive a Tesla, but I know they are very expensive. How much you have to pay? I think roughly 45,000. I think that's the cheapest one, right? But to
35.
35?
Yeah.
Okay.
The West one is 35.
Wow, really? Okay, good. 35. This is a good thing because you're fixing the value. I thought it was 45 because I don't know about Tesla. But you know better, you said 35.
The basic one, very basic one.
The very basic one.
Yeah.
So, from the 35 to about what? 120? I don't know. With full option? I don't know. I'll say plus and minus. Okay? So the value of a Tesla is 35 to 120. Let's go to a car that's a lot more affordable. Let's say, I don't know, Toyota Yaris. It's a small car, so they are kind of much cheaper. I don't know, how much do they cost?
15.
15? Well, you know well about the prices. Okay, well-equipped one will go about 20, about 25, 20? About 20?
I think it's 80.
Okay, so about 20, right? So this is the value of a car. This is the value of this car. Everything has a different car, different value, right? What can you give you a value of your love? Are you married? No? Okay. But you have a sister? You have a brother?
Yeah, 2 brothers.
2 brothers. Like one of them is Tong. His name is Tong. Tong. No, that's your name.
Yeah, my name.
I mean your brother's name.
Tongju.
Okay.
First brother.
Okay. So what is the value of Tongju? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm writing Korean. What's the value of Tongju?
I don't know. My brother is Korean.
Is he Korean? You don't know his value?
Yeah.
Maybe $1 million? Maybe
Maybe?
5 million? You don't know, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the value of your mother? Your mother. Still alive?
Yeah. My mom is in no car.
I don't know. She's no car, I know. But what's her value?
Value is, and I think so.
She's more valuable than Dongju?
Yeah.
Yeah, for you? More valuable. Who's more valuable, Dongju or your mom?
Maybe his mom?
Your mom is more valuable, right? For you, right? I know brothers. So your mother is more valuable. But still, you cannot say a price for your brother. There are things that are in this life that are priceless. Okay? There are things that are priceless, right? So, what is my price? Your price? How much are you worth? Have you thought about that? How much you are worth? I'm sorry, your name was, I know that you're here before. Your name was?
My name?
Uh-huh.
My English name is Danny. I just registered the car.
Danny?
Yeah, yesterday.
Oh, you just did yesterday.
I'm
Danny.
Yeah.
Okay, Danny, good, Danny. And what about the other people? I know that you were here before, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What's your name?
Liang Wu.
Oh, Liang Wu, okay. And you are?
Amarsana.
Arsena?
Amarsana.
Amarsena. Okay. Amarsena, what nationality are you?
Mongolia.
Mongolian? Oh, I see. This is a very peculiar name.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, welcome here. So we're talking about stories of Jesus, right? Why there are stories, why they are important to us. And we're going to talk about, it has a little meaning to us, our story. And we're thinking about what's the price, what's the value of our lives. A car can cost from $15,000 to, I don't know, $500,000, $1 million. Depending on what car it is, right? So, but what about love? What about people that you love? Your mother, your brother. There's no price for that. There was an interesting movie a long time ago. It was Demi Moore. I don't remember the title of that movie. I think it's Proposal. The actress was Demi Moore. And she was a married woman, happy with her family, but poor. She had no money. there was this very rich person that he knew her from a long time ago. He wanted to have sex with her. And so he proposed her, can you have sex with me for one night? And I'll give you $1 million. Back then, $1 million was a lot of money. So, did she do it or not? But they were really in trouble. They needed money. At one point, she decided to go. The movie plot is like that, but I don't want to talk about the plot. I don't want to talk about the message there. How much are you worth? How much is your dignity worth? How much is there are things that it's very hard for us to put on value. And we question, what is the value? It's a very difficult for us to put a price on things. So we don't want to talk about what is your value today? What is our value? This is a story, I can erase it, right? It's a story. There are two stories that I'm going to talk in the first part of this class, which comes from the parables of Jesus. And you can find this in your printout, the second page, page 2. More or less in the middle. And this is a story that we like to think about. So this is a story about Jesus telling what is the kingdom of God. Kingdom of God. And he compares that, he gives two stories. One story is, this is one person. He found in the field, there was a field here. He found something here, buried here. Then when he found this stuff, he opened it. And when he opened it, he found a lot of treasures inside. So there was a lot of things of value. A big trunk full of jewels. I like to do that. I like to find a chest filled with the jewels. You can be rich, right? So you can buy a Tesla, right? So this person found this. And then you know what happened? He was very excited. And he didn't know what to do. He couldn't carry that stuff. It was too heavy. So what did he do? He put this back again on the ground, and he covered on the ground. No one knows the treasure is inside the ground. And what happened? He went back to another person who was the owner of this land, this whole land. And he bought this land with everything that he had. He had all of this money, he took it up, and he bought this land. Because this stuff that he found, it's a lot more valuable than this land. Let's say that this land cost $100,000, right? He had $100,000. So he paid $100,000 for this land. But this chest has, let's say, 100 times of $100,000. Right? So this chest is much more valuable. So he paid $100,000 to buy this land that's $10 million. A lot more. So he had no problem with paying $100,000, even though $100,000 was. Okay. I know that some people don't have it. Does everybody have the printout? Okay. We're at the second page now. At the end of second page, we're gonna go to third page. So this is what the story is. I told you about this, the field and the treasure, the chest. This person found this and hid it again. He went to the owner of the field and he bought the whole field, right? So many times when we read this story, when we hear this story, we think that we are this person here. That we found something of great value that is the kingdom of God, right? And we are the one who found it, we hid it, we went there to the other guy and we bought it, and then we are the one who possess the kingdom of God, right? This is the way that we think about it. So he said, maybe not. Maybe what Jesus is trying to say is that we are not this person. This is not we. This is not us. This is not who. What Jesus is trying to say is that we are not this person. Jesus is not referring to us. Maybe Jesus is saying that we are the treasure. This is maybe Jesus. And maybe we are the treasure. So if we think about that, if we see in a different perspective, this is a completely different story. It's the same story, but the story has different meaning. Really think maybe we are the treasure here. We are of something of a value. Maybe some people think that we are this much value, but we actually are of much more value, something that is great. Maybe we think that we are not so valuable. Maybe because we have failures in our lives. Maybe because we're not so great. Maybe because we did not do much. Some people want to think, oh, I am 40 years old now, but I don't have money, I don't have family, I don't have anything. So we have not valuable, even less than this. We are $1,000 worth. We're very little. But this is how sometimes we see that we are not valuable. But Jesus sees us. No, you are more valuable than that. And Jesus wants to show that we are more valuable doing what? Hitting us by hiding us inside the ground again and buying it, the whole field, with some prices that is much more valuable, so that we can know our true value. So then maybe this is the story that Jesus wants to tell us. So this is actually the whole story. but we're gonna go get there, okay? Page 3, okay? Am I the man or the treasure? So this is the question. Are you the treasure or the man? Am I the merchant or the pearl? Are you this person who finds the Are you this person who finds the pearl? Or are you the pearl yourself? The story changes drastically. Knowing who you are. Who is what? Just prior to the parable Matthew tells us. Jesus always used stories and illustrations like this when speaking to the crowds. In fact, he never spoke to them without using such parables. This fulfilled what God has spoken through the prophets. I'll speak to you in parables. I'll explain things hidden since the creation of the world. And these parables are about things hidden since the creation of the world. Determining who and what in this parable requires us to go back to the creation of the world. God said, let us make mankind in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So God created humankind in His image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. This is from Matthew, Genesis chapter 1, 26, 27. And God saw everything that He had made, and indeed it was very good. So this is what is saying, that when God created human being, God said, very good. You are of great value. That's what God is saying. And then God told us, you know what? You take a dominion of the whole world. You control everything. So to the humankind, God told us to be the Lord of all creation, of all that God has created. So God created the whole world, and I'm just putting earth. The whole world. And when God said, okay, you human being, control everything of the creation. So humans have dominion of the whole world. We have dominion of the animals. So this is the value that we have. This is how much God has put a value into us. The next page, page 4. The Hebrew word that is translated good can also be translated as precious, valuable, excellent, and pleasing. Genesis tells us that for the 5 days, first 5 days of creation, at the end of each day's work, the creation was good. However, here at the end of the 6 days work, day's work of creation, the day that God made people in His image, it was very good. In other words, Genesis is underlining that the value that God saw when He considered the people He had created. All of creation was good, except that those beings made in God's image, they are very good. So what is good? The whole creation was good for God. But God said, very good. There's a difference between good and very good, right? And very good, what was that? Human beings. Why? Because we are created according to God's image. So God made an image. God's image is in us. We are created according to God, but only on the basis of what we can do for us. Bible noted that this is as far as most people ever travel in their lives. One way to tell if this is where we are is to listen to our prayers. If our prayers mainly consist of asking God to give us something or protect us from something or make something happen for us, we're probably at this second stage. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the second stage. Forget it. I read the wrong thing. The first stage, okay, is to love oneself to forsake of ourselves. We all start here. We're concerned for only ourselves, aware of only our own needs. As babies, we have no choice but to begin our lives in an entirely self-centered reality. But we don't have to stay here. So this step is, we just love because we love ourselves. The second stage is love of God. For the sake of ourselves. Because we love God because of us. Because we want something from God, right? It's like a genie in the bottle. You ask genie, oh, I want this request. So, and we just read that part. It's just like if your prayers are like this, oh God, make this happen to me. Oh God, I need some money for this. Oh God, you pray, just asking God to protect us from the danger, which is not a bad prayer, but if you constantly ask God to do something for you, that's because you love God for the sake of yourself. And the third stage is like this. The stage is the love of God. God for the sake of God. Oh, this is a really high standard of life, right? This is where we begin to sense that God has value simply because of who He is. Just as He declared that we have value simply because of who we are, we now can make that same declaration about Him. Just as He valued us before we had done anything, we can now value Him also for who He is. This is the beginning of joy and wonder for many people. God did not have to be the way He is. He did not have to create animals as wonderful and weird as the platypus, but He did. He did not have to make sunset so majestic and beautiful to us, but He did. God's character does not have to be filled with mercy, creativity, generosity, and grace, but it is. That such a God does exist because the point of delight and joy. When I first read these stages, I thought that this third one should be the end of it. We could each get over ourselves long enough to love God solely for who He is. That should be the top of the mountain, right? But I was surprised to read about the fourth stage. So this is the stage that He said, oh, we love God because who God is. Not because we did anything, because we deserve anything, because God is God by Himself. The fourth stage of love is love of ourselves. I don't know why he said ourselves. Anyway, ourselves for the sake of God. So the last one is to love us. You love yourself because of God. Does that make sense? When I first read this, it rubbed me the wrong way. It seems selfish, prideful, and arrogant. It seems to be a great step backward, not forward. And then I thought about how being a pastor serving the most diverse neighborhood in Los Angeles means that I have had the privilege of sitting with many different people, men and women of seemingly every ethnicity and background imaginable, some exceedingly rich and others exceedingly poor, some very young and some very old. I have learned that it is very rare to find a person who does not suffer from some level of blatant self-dislike or self-hatred. We find in this class also, I don't know, some people love themselves too much. Some people hate themselves too much. I hope this is not your case. But this is the reality. Sometimes when we talk about people that we find, they constantly say, I hate myself. And the result is sometimes they kill themselves because they cannot love themselves. And other extreme will be some extreme sense of narcissism. So someone loves themselves so much, but they're really not loving themselves, but they're just trying to cover up their weaknesses. And this is where we are. Some people focus on physical traits, desiring to be taller or thinner or to look differently than they do. This is very true. I have found that some people, when one interview with a model, that she was so beautiful in every sense, really very beautiful. She looked like a perfect person. And she said, I don't like that, but there's a certain part of my body that I don't like. I said, what are you talking about? But they always do. There's no person who is cannot completely say, I like the way I am, just perfectly as I am. Everybody has some sort of a complex. I don't like about this about myself. I don't like about this. I don't like my nose. I don't like my eyes. If you really see my eyes are one side is bigger than the other one. If you really think about if you really look at very carefully, my nostrils are one side is bigger than the other one. These are the minor things that we don't really care. But if you're talking about yourself, you care about those things. And sometimes we are constantly thinking about image. What is our image? And sometimes you don't like our image. If it's not like a physical trait, sometimes you don't like about your personality. Oh, there is something that I don't like about myself. But does God put your worth on those things? Does God loves you less because you are too tall, or you're too thin, or you're too fat? Does God love you less because you are too rich or too poor? No, God does not put a value on those things. God put a value of who you are because you are created according to God's image. So others are introverts wanting to be extroverts, or vice versa. Still others wish they had different natural skills or abilities. If only I could write music like she does. If only I could speak as well as he does. If only I could build a business like my friend. Some people seem to think that God did not really know what he was doing when he created them. If you are ever struggled with negative feelings towards yourself, it is a surprising discovery to find out how God feels about you. His 4 stages is when we have caught a vision of value that he has placed within us, which brings us back to those 2 parables that Jesus told of the hidden treasure or pearl. What is a thing worth? It's worth what someone is willing to pay for it. Oh, this is so true, right? Your value. The true value is what someone is willing to pay for it, right? Let's go back to that image of car value. Let's say if you buy, I don't know, he left, right? The guy who tells us the value of the cars. Okay, let's say, does anyone know the value of I don't know, 1 carat diamond? Okay, girls, what is the value of 1 carat diamond these days? Huh? Does anyone know? I don't know. I'll just put, what, $30,000? $30,000? Okay. Something can be like this. Okay. From like the cheapest diamond, probably $1,000, about 10,000, right? The most valuable, or even more, Let's say. How do you know the value? The true value of this is determined on how much I'm willing to pay. If I pay $10,000, this diamond is worth $10,000. If I'm willing to pay for that. Let's say that this diamond is of low quality, and you're not gonna be willing to pay $10,000. No way. you're gonna say, okay, a maximum I can pay is $1,000. Then that diamond is worth of $1,000. So this is what it's saying, that how much are you worth? Is how much someone is willing to pay for you. We said, our mother, is priceless, right? You cannot pay with money. The same thing here. So page 9. In Jesus' other parables that have a person searching for something that is hidden, covered, and lost, God is not who is hidden or lost. We are. Just like in Genesis, God is the one who's doing searching. This fits exactly with Jesus' understanding of himself. The Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost. It says here that Jesus is the one who is looking for the lost. Christ sees our value in spite of all the broken, messy, value-distorting fears and sin we have covered ourselves in. He sets aside his divine privilege. Sounds like a man who sells everything and takes the form of baby in a manger. Skepticism has set into the human soul from Genesis 3, but in Luke 1:68, interestingly, we are told that God has episkesato us. Many English Bible translate episkesato as visited. It is an unfortunately bland translation, and it obscures the lining of what is happening in Jesus coming down to earth. Epi means to move towards someone or something with helpful intent. Skepsato is where we get the English word skeptic. Putting it together, when Jesus came, he moved towards the skeptics with a helpful intent. Who are the skeptics? As we just saw in Genesis, me and you. And we are skeptical of what? God's good character, intentions, and plan for us. And we hid from God, and Jesus came from heaven to seek and save what was lost. He who set aside his divine right to visit the skeptics and with helpful intent did this by eventually dying on the cross. He did this all for the joy that was set before him. What does that joy consist of? A restoration of unbroken communion that we are created to have with God from the creation of the world. A treasure that was once hidden and lost and is now being found again. Most people have at least some time in their lives where they struggle with issues of self-worth or wonder how God sees them, whether that happens a lot in your life or only episodically. God declares that you are worth the coming of his Son, Jesus Christ, who arrived in a manger to be with us. Zephaniah says this in this way: the Lord your God is living among you. He is a mighty Savior. He will take delight in you with gladness. With his love, he will calm all your fears. He will rejoice over you with joyful songs. With Jesus' arrival in manger, the Father declared, you are worth it. So we were talking about that we are worthy of Jesus coming to us. And now we seek, we ask, but what about my sin, my messed up life, my addiction, my secrets? Don't those remove my value to God just because I was once a great value and great worth does not mean value.